I never thought I'd be that guy, the one who finds out his wife has been sneaking around behind his back, especially not right before our wedding. Sarah and I had been together for 5 years, and honestly I thought we had a good thing going. We weren't perfect, sure, but I never suspected she'd cheat on me, especially not with someone like her boss, David. They always seemed professional, maybe a little close, but I just figured it was part of the job. She was always busy with work stuff, always saying she was working late or attending a conference. Looking back, maybe I should have picked up on the signs, but I didn't want to believe it. The first red flag was small. Her phone kept buzzing late at night, messages that she'd quickly hide when I walked into the room. She'd get defensive, saying it was just her boss checking in about a project or some work-related thing. But I could tell she was lying. There was a certain nervousness in her voice when she answered, a hesitation she never had before. Still, I convinced myself she was just stressed, that I was overthinking it. Then came the hotel receipts. I found them in the trash one afternoon while cleaning up. I never really went through her trash, but that day I was just bored and decided to take a quick peek. And there they were, hotel receipts, dates that matched her schedule, charges for a fancy suite and a dinner for two. My heart sank. I knew what those were for. I had this gut feeling, like a punch to the stomach. I looked at the receipts more closely, and I saw her boss's name on one of the charges. It hit me like a freight train. They'd been sleeping together, I was sure of it. I needed to know for sure, so I started digging. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the signs were piling up. I remembered her acting weird lately, avoiding me, snapping at me over tiny things and canceling plans last minute. She'd always find some excuse, but I knew her too well. She was lying. She was hiding something. When I finally confronted her, I decided to do it directly, no more hiding in the shadows. I waited until she came home from work, my hands trembling a little, then I laid everything out on the table, the receipts, the messages I'd found, the late-night calls that she'd been ignoring. Her reaction was classic Sarah. She got furious, called me paranoid, said I was crazy to jump to conclusions. She insisted it was just a work affair, that they shared some intimate moments but it meant nothing, that it was just sex for her boss with no feelings involved. She looked me dead in the eye and told me I was overreacting, that I was insecure and jealous. Honestly, her words felt like daggers. She was so good at lying, so convincing. I wanted to believe her, I really did. But deep down, I knew better. That was just her way of trying to save face, to keep her secret. I could feel the betrayal burning inside me, and I knew this wasn't going to be easy to forget. After that confrontation, everything felt different. The air was thick with tension. I kept replaying her words, the way she looked at me with that fake innocence, like I was the one losing my mind. But I was. I could see the cracks in her story, the way her eyes darted around like she was trying to come up with an excuse on the spot. Honestly, I was stunned, betrayed, hurt, and angry all at once. How could she lie so easily? How could she pretend like it was just some meaningless affair, like it was nothing? I started noticing little things after that. She was more defensive, even when I questioned her about work stuff. She'd snap, say I was crazy for suspecting her. Every word she said sounded rehearsed, scripted. I caught her slipping up a few times, like when she accidentally called David my boss instead of my friend, or when she brushed off hints that I was paying attention. I was furious but also confused. Part of me wanted to break down, part of me wanted to lash out. I felt like I was losing control, like my entire world was crumbling around me. One night I decided to follow her. Not in a creepy way, I just wanted to see where she'd go after work. I waited until her car left the driveway and then followed at a distance. I saw her slip into a hotel downtown, a fancy place I'd never been to. The same hotel from the receipts. My stomach clenched. I parked around the corner and watched from a distance. Her figure went inside and I felt my blood boil. This was it. I knew she was probably meeting him there, and I didn't want to just sit around and wait for the truth to come out. I needed to see for myself. I kept my distance in the shadows, trying to stay calm, but my mind was racing. I saw her walk into the hotel, looking nervous but composed. I saw her open the door to a room, and that's when I got the full picture, her with David in a bed. They were kissing, touching each other. I could see it plain as day. It hit me like a punch to the gut. My wife, the woman I loved, sleeping with her boss right before our wedding. All those promises, all those future plans, shattered in an instant. I was frozen there in the dark, feeling this strange mix of heartbreak and rage. I didn't want to believe it at first. I kept telling myself maybe I was wrong, maybe I was seeing things, but I was. That was real, that was her. I stood there for what felt like forever, watching her with someone who wasn't me in a bed that wasn't ours. And in that moment, I realized I couldn't stay silent anymore. The betrayal was too deep, and I needed to decide what to do next. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? The images kept looping in my head: Sarah in that hotel, her lips on David's, the way her body pressed against him like she was finally free from whatever fake work affair excuse she'd been spinning. I felt sick. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her lying about everything, pretending she was innocent when she was out there sleeping with our supposed friend, our boss, someone I once trusted. I kept asking myself why. Why would she do this? Was it just sex? Did she really think she could keep this secret forever? I thought about all the moments she'd brushed me off, the way she'd suddenly be too busy or exhausted when I wanted to talk about us. I realized she'd been lying about so much, about her feelings, about her work, about everything. She'd been playing me, and the worst part was that I'd still loved her. I still wanted to believe there was some reason behind all this, some way to fix what I thought was broken. But the truth was staring me right in the face. She'd been sleeping with David, our mutual friend, and her boss, right before our wedding. That realization was like a punch to the stomach, and suddenly, everything felt different. I started thinking about all the times I'd been there for her, how I'd loved her, trusted her. And she had been out there, sneaking around, lying to my face, cheating. I felt so betrayed I could hardly breathe. The next day, I decided I couldn't keep this to myself. I had to confront her again, but this time with more details. I prepared myself for the fight, knowing she'd lie, deny, maybe even try to twist everything around. When she got home, I was waiting in the living room. Her face instantly changed when she saw my expression, frozen, angry, and hurt. I told her I knew everything, that I'd seen her with David, that I knew about the hotel. She tried to deny it, of course. She said I was imagining things, that it was all just a stupid mistake, that she didn't mean for it to happen, that David had pressured her, that she was under a lot of stress. That's when I lost it. I told her I didn't want to hear her lies anymore, that I'd seen enough, that her excuses didn't matter. It was clear she'd been lying to me for months, maybe longer. I saw her eyes flicker with guilt, but she quickly masked it with her bitchy attitude. She snapped at me, said I was overreacting, that I was being possessive and paranoid. Honestly, I was so mad I could have smashed something. How could she sit there and act like I was the one in the wrong? I'd caught her red-handed, and she still had the nerve to deny everything. After that, I felt this overwhelming mix of sadness and rage. I was furious at her for cheating, for lying, for betraying everything we once had. But I was also heartbroken. How could she do this to me, to us? I kept thinking about our future, all the plans we made, the wedding we were supposed to have in a few days. It was like someone had punched me in the chest. I wanted to scream, cry, run away, but I stayed there, silent, feeling the weight of her betrayal crushing me. I didn't know what to do next, whether to forgive, to leave, or to tear everything apart. All I knew was that my world had been turned upside down and nothing would be the same again. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind was a whirlwind of anger, sadness, and confusion. I kept going over everything she said, everything I saw with my own eyes. The images of her in that hotel with David haunted me. I kept asking myself if I could ever trust her again, if she even deserved another chance after betraying me like that. I thought about the future, about all the years we had spent building something that now felt like it was just a lie. In the quiet darkness, I made a decision. I knew I couldn't just forget or forgive her, not after what I'd seen, not after her lies. It was time for a serious talk, but this. I wanted to be in control of the situation. I started planning my next move. I knew I had to confront her again, but I also wanted to gather more evidence to make sure I had every reason to walk away if that's what I truly decided. I couldn't let her spin her lies again, so I went through her phone, her email, her social media accounts. I needed proof, not just the hotel receipts, but texts, messages, anything that could confirm my suspicions. I found more than I expected. There were messages between her and David, late-night texts filled with flirtation, promises, and even some explicit photos. She had been hiding this from me for months, maybe longer. Each new piece of evidence made my stomach turn, but it also strengthened my resolve. There was no way I could stay in this relationship after discovering she had kept such a secret from me. I also found out that she'd been lying about her work trips. She'd been meeting David at that hotel more than once, sometimes even staying overnight. It wasn't just a one-time thing. My mind raced trying to process all of it. She had been out there sneaking around, sleeping with her boss, our friend, right before our wedding. That's what crushed me the most. It wasn't just the cheating, but the way she lied about it, the way she kept me in the dark while she was out sleeping with someone I thought was a friend. The more I uncovered, the angrier I got. I started to realize I'd been blind, naive. I had loved her so much that I ignored the signs. I dismissed my gut feelings. I convinced myself she was faithful. But the truth was right there in front of me. She had been playing me all along. I felt betrayed in every possible way. My trust was shattered, and I knew I couldn't go back. Not after this. Not after her lies, her secret life, her betrayal. By the time dawn broke, I had made my decision. I would confront her again, but this time with clarity. I would tell her I knew the truth, that I couldn't be with someone who lied and cheated. I wanted her to know that I was done playing her game. I was done being her fool. I wasn't sure what would happen next, but I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. This was the moment I would finally face everything, no matter how painful. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a freight train. My head was pounding, and the weight of everything I'd uncovered sat heavy on my chest. I knew I couldn't keep pretending nothing was wrong, so I took a deep breath and decided I'd confront her again. But this time, I was going in with a clear plan. I wanted her to know I was done, that I had all the proof I needed, and that I wouldn't be played anymore. When she got home that afternoon, I was already waiting. She looked surprised, maybe a little nervous. She knew I wasn't the type to keep quiet after all this. I stared straight at her, holding the evidence I'd gathered on my phone. I didn't bother with sugarcoating it. I told her I knew everything about the hotel, the texts, the secret meetings. Her face went pale for a moment, then she tried to spin it again, throwing out lies and excuses like she'd been doing before. She said it was just sex, that she needed a distraction, that David made her feel alive, that I'd never understand her. I cut her off. I told her I didn't want to hear her lies anymore, that I'd seen enough. I told her I was done with her cheating, done with her selfishness, done with her pretending like everything was okay. I told her I couldn't be with someone who lied to my face and betrayed everything we had. I was angry, but I also felt a strange sense of relief, like finally I'd taken back some control. I told her she could stay or go, but I was leaving and I'd be doing it soon. She started crying then, really crying, not the fake tears she'd used to manipulate me when things didn't go her way. No, this was real. She begged, said she was sorry, said she loved me and made a mistake. She told me she was just confused, that she didn't mean for it to happen, that David was just a work thing, just a fling, just sex. But I didn't believe her. I knew better now. I realized her apologies were just more lies, more manipulation. She'd been lying to herself as much as she'd been lying to me, and I didn't want to be a part of that anymore. I told her I wasn't angry anymore, I was just done. Done with the lies, done with the betrayal. I said I needed time to think, to process everything, and I told her to leave my house. She begged me to give her another chance to work things out, but I couldn't do it. Not after what I'd seen, not after her lies. I told her she made her choice, and now I was making mine. As she packed her things and left, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I'd lost someone I loved, yes, but I also gained clarity. I realized how blind I'd been, how much I'd ignored the signs, how much I'd loved her even when she was obviously slipping away. Now I was alone, but for the first time I truly saw things for what they were. I learned that betrayal cuts deep and trust is fragile. Moving forward, I didn't know what was next, but I knew I'd be better off without her. I just hoped someday I could forgive myself for trusting her so blindly. In the days that followed, I felt like I was walking through a fog. Everything was numb, like I'd been punched so hard I couldn't even process the pain. I kept replaying everything, her lies, the hotel, the texts, her crying and pleading, and I wondered how I hadn't seen it all sooner. How had I been so blind to the signs? How did I not know I was living with someone who could so easily betray me, lie to my face, and sleep with someone who was supposed to be my friend? The worst part was that I still loved her. Despite everything, a part of me hoped she'd come back, that maybe, somehow, we could fix what was broken. But deep down, I knew that wasn't possible. Trust, once shattered this badly, doesn't just heal. It leaves scars. And those scars remind me every day of what I lost. Not just the woman I thought I knew, but the future I'd envisioned, now ruined. I spent a lot of time alone, trying to make sense of it all. I talked to friends, sought advice, but mostly I just tried to breathe through the pain. I realized that betrayal cuts deeper than I ever thought it would. It's like losing a part of yourself, a piece of your future that you'll never get back. I questioned everything: my judgment, my love, my trust in people. It's a hard lesson, but one I had to learn the hard way. Eventually, I started to pick up the pieces. I focused on myself, on healing. It wasn't easy. There were days when I wanted to reach out, to question her, to scream at her. But I knew that wouldn't change anything. The only thing I could do was move forward, even if it meant walking alone for now. I realized I deserved someone who wouldn't lie to me, who wouldn't cheat and betray. And I owed it to myself to rebuild my life piece by piece. Looking back, I understand now that love isn't supposed to feel like this, filled with betrayal, lies, and heartbreak. But I also see that every ending is a new beginning. I've learned to trust my instincts more, to listen to that voice inside that tells me when something wrong. I've learned how precious trust really is and how devastating its loss can be. Most importantly, I've learned that revenge isn't about hurting her, it's about reclaiming myself, about standing up and saying, "I won't let you break me." I may be hurting right now, but I'm stronger than I thought. And someday I'll find someone who values honesty, loyalty, and true love. Until then, I'll keep healing and moving on. Because the one thing I know for sure is that I deserve better than the betrayal I endured. And I'll never let anyone take that away from me again.